Welcome back to the Andrew Finney Show, where we help you make sense of real estate. My name is Andrew Finney. I'm your host, and I'm here in Las Vegas, Nevada with King Realty Group. So what we'll do over the course of the live stream is we will go through 4 different things. The first thing that we'll go over is a book of the week. We'll also go over a question that really stood out to me, or a meeting that really stood out to me this last week that I think that you would find helpful. And we would respond to the last 7 days of comments on the channel, answer any questions that came up. And of course, we're going to join in. We're going to have you join in and answer any questions that you have as well. Thank you for being here today. So let's go ahead and get into the book of the week. This week's book is by Sally Hogshead, and the title is Fascinate, 7 Triggers to Persuasion and Captivation. Again, the book is Fascinate by Sally Hogshead. It's a really cool book. When she's talking about the 7 triggers to persuasion and captivation in specific, she's taking a look at understanding how companies, people, and ideas capture and fascinate us and appeal to us so that we want more of that product. I'm sure right now, if you really start thinking about somebody that stands out in your mind, or a company that really stands out, what makes them memorable? Why did they capture your attention, and how did they keep your attention, right? So some of us can think of it pretty quick, and then other companies, we might like their products, but at the same time, they're not quite as memorable to us. Why is that? So she goes in really deep in this book. So Sally said there's 7 universal triggers. One of those triggers is lust. Another trigger is mystique, alarm, prestige, power, trust, and also looks like I can't even read my note on this one. Unfortunately, that's kind of embarrassing, but yes. But it's a really cool book with those 7 triggers. Oh, sorry, it was vice. That's why I didn't remember it so much, because it's talking about preying on people's vices, like if you smoke or if you drink, or you have an addiction to something. That's why that's not in my mindset. It's not how I roll as a person. So speaking of that, with those 7 universal triggers, check out a commercial today. And when you're watching television or you're binging on Netflix or something, ask yourself, why did it fascinate you? What is it about it that captures your attention? And what is it that keeps you going forward with that? Because understanding how people think is extremely important. The more that we understand how people think, the more persuasive we can become. And the more persuasive we can become, the more memorable we can become in their mind's eye. Ideally, we would use these things for good in terms of understanding how they think and becoming our best selves as a byproduct. One of the reasons I go live is because it's actually a bit of a challenge. I've been doing it now for several weeks, or several months actually. It is a challenge to go live, not knowing what questions are going to be asked and going over the comments in real time. No editing, no nothing. It's kind of nerve-wracking, and sometimes at the same time, I absolutely enjoy it because of the engagement we get. I think that it makes me a better professional, and it makes me a better person. So one of the things that I learned from this book was how best to try to use what the universal triggers are to capture people's attention and keep their attention. Because I noticed that on my analytic reports, not to dive too deep into the numbers on YouTube, it's not, not everybody that starts a video finishes it, yet the content is so powerful that if they would just watch the video from start to finish, they would learn so much more about real estate, whether they're buying, selling, home owning, or whatever the case may be. So I'm always asking myself, what can I do to level up my videos, shoot a higher quality video, keep people's engagement, keep them going all the way through, and be so excited that they want to watch another video. So that's what caused me to want to purchase this book, so I could try to learn more as I work on my self-development and improve myself. So my question for you is, what would it be? How would your life change if you were to listen to this book? What lessons could you learn to become your best self in the process? If it's something that you think that you're interested in, it is an Audible. Of course, it's on Amazon and hard copy as well. And the title again is Fascinate, 7 Triggers to Persuasion and Captivation by Sally Hogshead. Now, I noticed a few comments that came in while I was going on about the book, so let me go ahead and address those. So Matt Nelson says, what's up, Andrew? Hope your week is good. Matt, thank you so much for being here, my friend. Yes, the week is excellent, and it's great to hear from you. Also appreciate the support on the videos, and I'm glad that you're loving the new camera and the new format. Boy, it's been a lot of work and a lot of fun making them, and I hope that everybody finds them highly beneficial. Thomas Reto says, hello, like your videos and advice, sir. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thomas, thank you so much. It's my pleasure to do so, and I'm really happy that you're here with us today. Andy Cal says, hey, Andrew, Happy New Year to you. Hope all is well. Absolutely amazing 2019 starting off here, Andy, and happy that you joined us today. Hope that your 2019 is going off to a fantastic start as well. Thomas says, got to pick up the kids from school. Hope you have a good year. Thomas, thank you for dropping in real quick. And we'll look forward to having you on another live session if you aren't able to come back on later for today's live session. All the same, Thomas, really appreciate your positive mojo and hope you and your family enjoy a wonderful day. And Andy Cow says, also, your new intro is fire, 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 hot, hot, hot. So I'm glad that you like that. Yeah, that phoenix, you know, for me, it's so powerful. A phoenix as a mythical creature is massively like fundamental to who I am as a person. You know, the story of a phoenix rising from the ashes after it's been dead, after it gets knocked down, after people intend to keep it down, but being able to get back up. If you're only brave enough, if you only have the courage to take that step forward, you can rise again better and stronger than you were before. So for me, the phoenix is essentially a symbol of my life's mantra, coming from, you know, an abusive household when I was growing up, going into the Marine Corps, and then, you know, how going to the combat zone and everything, and then recovering from all of that, now coming in the real estate, learning to connect with people in a whole different way than I've ever had to before. It's so powerful. So for me, the phoenix means it's just something that you might as well tattoo it or imprint it into my heart. And I'm glad that you thought that that was rocking, and I'm glad that you enjoy it. But that's a little bit of insight in behind why I always go with a phoenix for symbology. Tim Rivard, Andrew, I just want to thank you for all your advice, and your videos have been extremely helpful throughout the building of our new home. We have achieved success. Thanks for your service to our country. Tim, I am super excited for you. If you've achieved success, that means you probably have the keys to your new home. I'm super excited for you, my friend, and congratulations. I'm glad that my videos were part of your success and something that was helpful to you as you went through that process. Please be sure to share the channel around with anyone else you know that can benefit, and let's continue learning and growing together. It's only going to get better as the year progresses and we move into even more videos into the future. Cynthia says, Bird Box challenges are fascinating to me. Bird Box challenges are fascinating to me. What do you think? Watching you, Andrew, for the personality factor. Are we in a real estate bubble or a peak? So, Cynthia, I'm not so sure what a Bird Box challenge is, to be honest with you. It's something I'm going to have to Google now after I get done with this live stream. That one, I'm completely blanked out. Don't know what it is. Right now, it's not coming to me. If you describe it a little bit better, maybe it'll jog something. But as it stands, I'm sorry. I'm glad that they are fascinating to you. Maybe I think they're fascinating too. I don't know until I research it. Watching me for the personality factor. Thank you, Cynthia, for enjoying my personality and for being here and joining in. I also enjoy your comments as well. Are we in a real estate bubble or peak? So that's a really good question. I don't know, Cynthia, if you caught the Housing Market Predictions 2019 episode or not. In that video, I really broke it out. And I went over the 7 factors that influence the real estate market, 7 indicators that you can watch. And those 7 indicators to watch are going to hold true no matter what market condition or what year we're in the future. Those are key performance indicators that by watching them will always demonstrate the trend line of exactly what's going on in the real estate market. And then I had shared what I believe the 7 predictions are that we are most likely to experience in 2019. Having said that, in short, Cynthia, no, I don't believe that we're in a real estate bubble at this time, based upon the logic and based upon the research that I put forth into the Housing Market Predictions 2019 episode. That's the short of it. There are some wild card and unpredictabilities with the current administration that's in the presidential office. Of course, that could go a lot of different ways on the geopolitical climate, which would be one of the wild card factors that are hard to predict for or account for. So if you want to know more in detail, I would suggest that you watch that video, Cynthia. I think it'll be highly beneficial and highly educational to you, and that you will probably enjoy the new format of the videos as well, especially since you mentioned the personality factor, right? So it's something that you're probably likely to really enjoy with the high def camera and the new way of making the videos. All the same, no, I don't believe that we're at a real estate bubble when your question is, or a peak. I think we're approaching the peak probably in the next 1 to 2 years. I don't think that we're there quite yet. And again, that'll be demonstrated in the video with the sources that I provided in the show more description below as to the reasons why I don't believe that we're quite there yet. I think that it's something that's probably around 2021, 2022-ish. Is when we're probably going to be hitting a peak and then sliding into a buyer's market around 2023 to maybe 2025, something around 2 to 3 years, probably, and about maybe 15% or so depreciation at that time. as the market balances. Right now, we're seeing a stabilized market. So it's really contingent upon the next 1 to 2 years in real estate as far as where the market is going to go and how fast it's going to hit the next market cycle quadrant. That being said, when we're talking about it stabilizing, we can only hope that it continues to stabilize, because as it does, hopefully, home appreciation cools off. But remember, home appreciation is still what? Home appreciation, which means homes will get more expensive just at a slower pace. And hopefully we'll see the mortgage interest rates get to a level where it helps check the rise in appreciation, but not so much of a check that it throws us into the wrong direction. The best real estate market is the same as an economy. It's a stable one where there's a give and take. Now we have to have equal income to an average equal income in an area to the average price of home for affordability factors. Whenever it starts exceeding what is truly affordable for the majority of people in a given area, that's also another key performance indicator that suggests that there is a correction coming on the horizon. Now, when we're talking about market corrections, we're talking about bubbles. I mean, bubbles became one of those euphemisms. It kind of came as a sexy term because it was catchy and it incited fear. I'm not about fear mongering. So everything that I share with you is never intended to scare you, only to prepare you. And I believe in keeping it real. Having said that, when you talk a bubble, when we talk a crash, or you hear the stuff out there, it's very important to note what happened in 2008 is not normal. That's not a normal correction for a market. That was devastating. They call it the Great Recession. And in the 2019 predictions video, I really dove deep into comparisons, and I went into historical guidelines all the way back to 1933 with trends and indicators across the board. So it's important to take stock of that, to understand where we've been, to know where we are today, to better have an idea and a handle of the performance that we're likely to see into the future. Having said that, all of that stuff rolls into one, and I try to digest it as simple as possible. I know the video is long at 31 minutes and 13 seconds, but that was the culmination of hundreds of pages and over 40 hours of research put into 31 minutes that I would think that economics course or something at any university might want to start showing to their students, because it broke it down pretty quick. I guess you could consider it like my doctoral dissertation or something, because it was intense. Anyways, all the same, there's a lot going on behind those questions. And in short, Cynthia, I don't think that we're headed for a bubble this year. I think, again, we're probably a couple years or so away from the bubble, if you want to call it that, when in reality it's just a correction. And I don't believe it's going to be like 2008 when it does pop, as people say. So a lot of variables that go into that. Anyways, Andy Cow, Andrew, what's your honest opinion on a 15-15 adjustable rate mortgage versus a conventional 30? I like the really low rates with adjustable rate mortgage, but also like the stability of the 30-year mortgage. Okay, so if you're talking a 15-15 adjustable rate mortgage, Andy, it's really going to depend on what you're most comfortable with. It is without question that adjustable rate mortgages do have a benefit, but it's important to know how to use them. At a 15, that's an interesting one. I haven't, to be honest with you, Andy, I'm not familiar with a 15-15 adjustable rate. Normally I always hear of like 3-to-1 adjustable rates or 5-to-1 adjustable rates. That being said, the purpose behind an adjustable rate, of course, is that it will give you a more attractive interest rate, but at some point that your mortgage could also go up when it resets to the prime rate as of the date of that maturation from the adjustable rate. That being said, if it's a term being the 3 or the 5 and the 3-to-1, 5-to-1, or in this case 15 years before there's the adjustment, it's important to calculate, where are you going to be 3 years from now? Where are you going to be 5 years from now? Where are you going to be 15 years from now when it comes to maturation, and when the principal is likely to change based upon the prevailing mortgage interest rate at that time when it readjusts? Now, depending on that, is either going to make an adjustable rate a good idea or a bad idea. And the reason I want to be very specific about the adjustable rates, Andy, is because this is part of what went into the 2008 collapse. What we were just talking about was adjustable rate mortgages, predatory loans, people getting loans that should have never got loans. I'm working with home buyers all the time, and home sellers, and the ones that bought a house prior to 2008 are always stunned. They're like, Andrew, when did this mortgage process get so crazy? When did this mortgage process get so freaking hard? I want to stab myself. I find it more preferable than getting a mortgage. And I'm like, hey, look, it might be a little bit frustrating sometimes to go through the mortgage process these days, because everything is being double dotted, and the I's are being double dotted and the T's are being double crossed. But here's the thing. It's protecting you. And the reason it's protecting you is because lenders are being more heavily regulated courtesy of the Dodd-Frank Act, which again, 2019's video, something that the current administration and Congresses that were held by the majority of Republicans last year had put into effect a workaround. And I'm a little nervous about it, frankly, but that's a whole different topic. I don't want to sound political. It's never my intention, but just to give unbiased information and factual information. That being said, adjustable rates were one of those animals because people were speculating the market. And I just had this conversation with somebody yesterday whenever people were in the market at the time. And the one thing that the American people just refuse in many cases, and you probably know someone like this, just refuse to take ownership of their own flawed logic and their own inappropriate actions. And we got to call a spade, and we got to be honest, and we got to keep it real. The worst lie, the worst deception we could ever have is when we deceive ourselves. If we're wrong, we got to admit it. When I'm wrong, I admit it, I own it. May not enjoy the taste of bitterness that comes along with it, but it'll make me stronger. It'll make me better. Going back to the symbology of the rising phoenix, right? I only get better if I make a mistake. And I can't make a forward step if I'm scared about making a mistake. So I got to have the courage to move forward, knowing that I'm going to make some mistakes on the way, but also knowing I'm going to learn from them. That being said, that one thing that the American people refuse to take ownership of, and that it's easier for people to pass the buck, pass the blame, was their own greed. Let's be real. Anybody back then that was getting a 3-to-1 or 5-to-1 adjustable rate mortgage, in their mind's eye, in their heart of hearts, I'm willing to bet you a dime to a dollar, in their being, in their person, they were realistically speculating the market, expecting it to continue to rise because they had seen some people speculate the market and make hundreds of thousands of dollars when they resold that property. They wanted to do the same thing, and they knew. I'm willing to bet you people know, because I believe in you and I believe in people are not stupid. I believe that sometimes our thought processes may become a little skewed or out of line with reality. At the same time, I don't believe that people are inherently stupid. I think that people like to make the best decision possible if they only really take a step back. But when you put emotions or you put passion into it with like greed or your other personality traits, going back to Vice and today's book of the week, which is now becoming highly beneficial that we went into it based upon what we're sharing here, we got to take ownership of that greed because they fell into their own Kool-Aid. And what goes up must come down. We know this. Yet when people keep saying, oh, it's just going to keep going up, it's just going to keep going up. The big benchmark, going back to something we were talking about with Cynthia, is when the average person at an average income for a given area cannot afford the average price of a home, changes ahead, and that change is going down because it's got to stabilize. Otherwise, who's buying the house? Nobody can buy it. Just because you lend up, just because lenders free up the credit pool, people knew they couldn't afford it. I mean, let's face it. If you were working for $10 an hour back then and you were buying $1 million home, you knew you couldn't afford that house. Just because you could get approved for it doesn't mean that you should have bought it. And they knew that, but they did it, because they were also speculating the market. And that's about as real and honest as it can get. Until we as an American people, until we as a people in a global society take ownership and take personal accountability for our own actions, we can never grow or move forward. So we got to be honest. It's not always fun to look in the mirror and say, hey, you know what? You were a doofus. You made a stupid mistake. But at the same time, how are you supposed to ever grow until you can admit what went wrong? So that's a whole different thought process. I know that might be a little bit of a long answer and took a different tangent than you may have expected, Andy. But at the end of the day, when you're talking about an adjustable rate mortgage, that's a very touchy subject for me because I don't want anyone to get hurt. But I also want people that are thinking this through logically, that it could be beneficial to them, but it depends on their circumstance, their situation, and first focusing on how long are you going to keep that house. And if the mortgage rates were double what they were today, how would it impact you if that was your rate 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years from now? It's important to think about that. So ultimately, Andy, that decision is going to be what's best for you. I personally enjoy the stability of a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. So that's what I have on my own home is a 30-year fixed rate mortgage because I like the stability myself. So ultimately, I hope that was a little bit helpful to you in understanding what you want to do and give you a lot to consider to make the best decision for you and your family. Kay Vargs, hey Andrew, hope all is well. Getting new construction in New York State. Your videos have been great, included a lot of relevant topics. Keep up the good work and keep this YouTube thing going. Kay Vargs, thank you so much for joining in. Loving the different comments and conversations that we've had through the comment section, Kay Vargs. Super excited for you getting your new home in New York State with your new construction home. And I'm glad that the videos are being extremely helpful to you. Absolutely freaking awesome and amazing when you guys let me know what you're thinking of the videos and anything that you think of that you would like to see me make next. Just let me know. I just love it. Keep up the good work. Keep this YouTube thing going. Definitely will, Kay Vargs, and please keep it going with us. Just know that I have all kinds of different playlists, always turning out all kinds of different content with the idea and the purpose that this channel can benefit people from start to finish, from the beginning of life to the end of life in a real estate cycle, from planning out buying your first home, how to save for your first home, buying a house, owning a house, selling a house, investing in real estate. I have so much content on my channel at this point. It's insane. Oh, by the end of this year, by what's on my schedule to produce this year, it will be over 600 some odd videos by the end of the year. So that's a lot of information that's available for people. For as long as YouTube is around, these videos will be around. So anyways, most def, thanks Kay Vargs for being here. Cynthia Hunter, great. I'll watch the 2019 predictions video. Thank you, Cynthia. Appreciate you weighing in on that video after you watch it and sharing your thoughts with us in the comment section on that episode. Darren Carter, good afternoon, Andrew. I love the video on home protection. I'm out and about right now. Just wanted to check in. Darren, thank you for stopping by. Really appreciate it. Just even if you jump on for a quick moment on the live stream, say, hey, let me know you're here. It's awesome to hear from you. And Darren, I hope that you're having a great day. Super happy that you enjoyed last Friday's video, which was 6 things burglars don't want you to know. Yeah, there's a lot of good information in that video, by the way, if you're wondering what burglars don't want you to know and how to protect yourself. Cynthia Hunter, lots of laughs, fell into the Kool-Aid. You know, whenever it happens, right? And the reason I use Kool-Aid is if we remember back what happened in La Jolla, California, and also in, oh goodness, let's not go to that second one because that was absolutely awful. But La Jolla, California was equally as awful. They were having the Kool-Aid Jello shots, and Heaven's Gate people, remember them? Yeah, they killed they killed themselves, committed suicide because they ate their own Kool-Aid, they drank their own Kool-Aid. So yeah, that's where my expression comes from, is that it can be devastating. Kool-Aid can be delicious, but if you get the wrong Kool-Aid, it can be detrimental. Class Lucky Goliath. Hello, sir. Do you have any videos on guidance on buying real estate without any money? Yes, sir, I sure do. You might want to check through some of my home buying playlist or financial loan playlist that I have the lenders on with me. And we go into discussing no down payment and low down payment home loan programs. They are out there and they have their own sets of pros and cons, to be honest with you. So you'll want to review your situation and your circumstance with a local loan officer and trusted real estate advisor near you. If you need any help finding them, you know, my contact info is in the show more description below. Let me know. I can put you in touch with a trusted real estate advisor. By proxy, they should probably also have a local loan officer that you could chat with about any loan programs in your area that may be beneficial to you. But all the same, get the facts. I think you're doing it right. And I give you massive props and kudos for being here and asking that question today. Thank you for bringing that up. Ty H, this is why I tune in. Thanks for all you do. Ty H, thank you for tuning in, and I appreciate you. And that's why I keep doing this too, is because of you and everyone joining us today and after the live stream session. So really appreciate it. As you know, I've said several times during live stream is like one of my favorite kind of videos because I never know what to expect. So it keeps it fresh and it keeps it exciting. We can go any direction. So love it. Andy Cow, thank you for your insight. Andrew, the 1515 only adjusts once over 30 years. It's a loan offered by federal credit unions. Thank you for the insight into the 1515, Andy. Really appreciate the education. This is how we become stronger. This is why I always say that we are stronger and better together than we are not, because you know something that I didn't know, and you just shared it with us live in front of everybody, and anybody watching after the fact. Now they'll know if they want a 1515 to go to a federal credit union, and they know it's going to adjust once over a 30-year term. So that once, especially when you talk about the way that interest rates tend to be trending right now, Andy, then I'm going to put that out there back to the question that I phrased to you a moment ago. I'm going to throw it out there again. You need to think, if your mortgage interest rate today doubled in 15 years from now, right? How's that going to impact your payment? Could you afford your house? Or will you have already sold a house from that type of a loan by that time? Ask yourself that, and that'll probably give you a lot of insight into your own thought process and deciding what's best for you and your family. All the same, you know, you're a really smart guy, Andy, from the different conversations we've had on live stream and everything. I know you're going to make a smart decision that's right for you. You get all the facts first, and I love it, and you're doing everything right, bud. Okay, Ty H, the realest real estate advisor ever. Hot. So Ty, thank you for that. Love it. The realest real estate advisor ever. So I love it. Yeah, I'm always like saying, keep it real, keep it 100. So I'm glad you're picking up on that. Love it. Thank you so much for that. Janine Hoke. Hi, Andrew. Long time, no comment. No kidding, Janine. And you know, you're one of my favorite people too, because I see you all the time. And then I saw you over on my buddy Matt Layton's channel. I was watching one of Matt's videos. And for reference, you know, he's on my home screen for my channel. If you guys don't know him, he's another really good real estate agent over in Virginia. Makes a lot of educational content for consumers as well. So I watch his videos. He watches my videos. We talk on the phone. We text each other. I mean, really cool guy. So anyways, I saw your name. I was like, oh my God, Janine, I know I haven't made a whole lot of recorded content, but come back. Come check this out. So glad you're here today. You say, Happy New Year. I finally purchased using some of your tips and am in the new home now. I'm furloughed, so I was able to tune in live today. Keep up the awesome work. Janine, Happy New Year to you. Super happy that you were able to purchase your home using some of the tips on my channel and that you found them helpful. Congratulations on that new home again, because that's really exciting. Okay. Keep up the awesome work, definitely will, Janine, and please keep back. Let me know, because you've been with me for a long time, Janine. Why don't you check out some of the newer content if you haven't already, and let me know what you're thinking of it, because there's been a lot of changes with the new video content I started releasing last Tuesday to the content that you were watching and learning from previously. I would love to hear your insights and thoughts about it, and any suggestions you may have for how best I can improve the videos overall. Jimmy Earl, hello, Mr. Andrew. Been following you for some time. You have been an inspiration for me to follow. Thanks for putting yourself out there. Jimmy, thank you so much for letting me know that. Really appreciate you stepping forward today and letting me know that what I do has been inspiring to you, and that putting myself out there is definitely helping you and other people watching. That's good to know. It is a little nerve-wracking sometimes, to be honest, to put yourself out. I'm sure that anyone that's looked at some of my videos, you know, for the most part, people love them. But there are some pretty nasty comments that come in some of them. Check out the Housing Market Predictions 2019 video, and you'll see how controversial some episodes can become. So yeah, I just stay focused, and I just stay true to myself and being honest and keeping things real. Like Ty was saying, the realest real estate advisor ever. Just keep it real. If you're honest and you're truthful, you can go to sleep at night with a clear conscience, and that's what it's about, is trying to help people. I know that my passion is genuine, so I will keep putting myself out here, Jimmy. And if you have any suggestions of how I can improve, just let me know. I always love to learn different ways of how to improve myself and the videos that I make. Okay, John Y. If the appraisal comes in lower than the agreed upon price, what happens? If it comes in higher, is that a good thing? John, that's a really good question. I've actually made a video about that in the case of a low appraisal, and it's not been released yet, but I have also made another video this year about appraisals and situations that you would experience. To answer your question, though, there's essentially 3 different options that really unfold. If an appraisal comes in low, obviously renegotiation of some sort is going to need to take place. And it really depends on what side of the fence you're on this, John, if you're the buyer or if you're the seller. In the case of both, the renegotiation would take on the form of either the seller drops the price to the appraised value, being that a buyer can't get more home loan than the appraised value. The buyer comes out of pocket the difference of the appraised value, right? And the purchase price amount. So if it was like a $500,000 home, appraisal comes in at $490,000. Buyer says, hey, I got an extra $10K. This is right home for me. I'll pay you the difference in cash. And then your home loan is for $490,000, and you parted with an extra $10,000 to buy that home on top of your down payment and on top of your buyer closing costs, by the way. And the third option that I see in practice even more commonly probably is a seller and a buyer just splitting the cost. So again, going back to that example of a $500,000 home, it appraised at 490. Buyer says, I'll come up 5,000 to make good and keep everything alive. And seller says, I'll come down 5,000. Now, whenever market conditions will also factor into how this works. And the worst case scenario, you would lose a contract. If the seller is willing to not budge on dropping the price to the appraised value, the buyer couldn't come up any money, then it's a non-starter. It's going to be a situation. That's why there's appraisal contingencies and purchase contracts in many states across the country. And it is a disqualifier if the seller will not reduce. So, I mean, there's 4 options that could happen there. And the most viable that happens and goes back to the market conditions, right? If you're in a strong seller's market, the sellers are probably going to be looking for a buyer that can come out of pocket. At the same time, if you've made it that far into the closing process, a lot of sellers may not be keen on the idea of canceling the escrow just to have to get the house resold and go back through the process. As I share with sellers in there, and if you're on the buying side, you would probably attest to this as well. When you see a house that falls out of escrow, sometimes it's of no fault of the listing side, no fault of the seller, but what goes through, right or wrong, what goes through your mind as a home buyer? Something's wrong with the house. The home inspection wasn't any good. The house was overpriced. The sellers are unreasonable. All kinds of different speculation that is not necessarily true goes into that. So some smart sellers will know that, and they'll also know, hey, you know what? We tried to get the best price on the market. We got the best price based upon the offer. Now it's time to be realistic. And that's the conversation I have with sellers all the time. You got to be realistic. A buyer cannot get more home loan than the appraised value. If we're in contract for a higher price, awesome. But be prepared to drop your price to the appraised value, because at some point when you sell this house, you're going to be a home buyer. And how would you feel if somebody did that to you? That's the way I always try to ask people to look at it, is to simply ask yourself, if you were in the buyer's shoes, or if you were in the opposite person's shoes, how would you respond? And how would you feel if they did it to you? And sometimes that helps people put things in perspective. And it's just about being communicative, John. So, you know, it's a really good question, though. I'm assuming you're probably asking me this question because you're in the stages and you're just wondering what to expect throughout the process. Really good question. That's why I made a whole video, and I made another video just about appraisals. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there, and it's quite a common question. So thank you for bringing it up. HH, hey, do you have anything on new home construction from another state? Happy New Year to you, and thanks for everything. You're doing such a huge help. HH, yes, I do have videos about new construction. I'm not sure about from another state. No, I probably haven't made, in fact, I have not made any videos specifying new construction from another state. I have made new construction videos as it pertains to understanding the process, regardless of what state you're in and regardless of what builder you're using. And it's actually a playlist on my channel that's just called New Construction Homes. So if you want to check it out, I've made probably 6 or 7 videos about new construction. You might find them helpful. And if you come up with an idea, HH, of a video that you believe would be a good one, just let me know and I will take a look at it and see what I could do to put it together in a video to help you and help anyone else wondering the same thing. It's a very good question, and I'm super happy that you raised it, HH. And thank you for letting me know that my videos have been a huge help to you. It's a huge help having you here and sharing with us today. Thank you. Abiogenesis says, hello, I'm looking to purchase a home in a buyer's market. I'm looking to drop the listing price $10,000, but don't want to insult the seller. Is that a good idea? Abiogenesis, it'll depend on the $10,000 and what the percentage basis is off of the list price. Now, consider if you're purchasing a $500,000 home, $10,000 is 2%. If you're purchasing a $100,000 home, 10%, or excuse me, $10,000 becomes 10%. Now, there will be certain market norms that are called a list price to sales price ratio. Working with a good trusted real estate advisor, they'll be able to break out the list price to sales price ratios. What that would mean is if you have a list price of $500,000, but it's an observation that homes in the area are selling for, let's say, an average of $490,000, then that would mean that your list price to sales price ratio is 98%. So if $10,000 is within that spectrum, okay, it becomes a lot more palatable because it's going to need to drop that anyways. If you're looking for an additional $10K on top of that, it might work too at that sales price. So it's about a function of percentage when you're looking at dropping down a price. And going back to the buyer's market, abiogenesis, Buyers markets favor who? A buyer. So if there's more homes on the market than there are available buyers in that pool, and we do see this stratification in U.S. real estate as well. I'm not sure if you're here because majority of our markets are sellers markets leaning into stabilized markets at the moment, but the higher priced luxury home market segments are are and have been for quite some time more of a buyer's market than a seller's market, contrary to what anybody might have you believe. There's always far fewer buyers than there are available luxury market listings. I mean, as you go up that totem pole of price, fewer and fewer people can buy them, which makes the buyer pool extremely small. That being said, buyer's market favors buyer. So, and when you're talking about 10K, please look at it as a point of percentage basis. If you're trying to hit somebody's price down by 10% off the top, and if they're already at the fair market value, that might be a tough bite, and that might hurt the seller's feelings. And yeah, it could be insulting. At the same time, what other conditions in terms are you requesting? Are you requesting the seller to give you buyer closing costs? Are you requesting other seller concessions? Dropping a list price is more than just dropping the list price for the sake of dropping the list price. You got to look at the terms of a contract. That's where the devil resides. Devil's in the details, as I call it out in the videos that I've made about this. The devil's always in the details. It depends on what you're asking for. If you're asking them to cough up your buyer closing cost in the process, then you're already asking them for 3% of whatever the sales price may be. That could be $10,000. It could be more than $10,000. It could be less than $10,000, depending on the sales price. Going back to our $500,000 example, 3% is $15,000. So if you're asking somebody to give you a 3% towards your buyer closing cost, right? And now you're asking them to drop $10,000, but let's say they're at their fair market price as it were, then in essence, you're asking the seller to give you $25,000. And on top of that, they have what are called seller closing costs. So it's important to understand the dynamics and the negotiation strategies that are most acceptable in the area that you're working in and where you're looking to purchase your home. So the best way that you can negotiate fairly and negotiate the best terms for you and terms that would ultimately be accepted by a seller in your local marketplace is to have that conversation with a trusted real estate advisor near you about current offer strategy, market conditions, market trends, and take a look at what you need to get to be able to buy that home. I hope that was a really beneficial answer for you, abiogenesis. And if you put it into practice, you will find yourself probably getting a list price reduction and the terms that you need to put things together that make sense for both you and the seller. Think about that nobody likes to feel like they're hosed in a negotiation. It's about everybody feeling like they're whole and both everybody leaving that negotiation table feeling good about it moving forward. If you have resentment and bitterness at the beginning, it will not get any better through the closing process and might give everybody, either the buyer or the seller, the reason and justification they need to back out if it gets too hard. Something to think about, something to consider. Okay, so we had such a wonderful time going into all the comments after the Book of the Week intro. So let me get into the question that really stood out to me before we start going into the comments over the past week. So what happened is I met with a family over this past weekend, and it's also come up from some people sending me direct emails or phone calls, and it seems to be recurring. And essentially what this is when a couple's getting ready to buy a home, okay? Sometimes the couples have not really clearly had communication with each other to best to understand what they're looking for in their new home. Then what happens is they meet with a trusted real estate advisor, they meet with a loan officer, they meet with whomever, and somebody is eventually going to ask them, obviously the real estate advisor is definitely going to be asking them, what do you want in your house? What's most important to you? What size of home are you looking for? What's the area of preference if you have one? What's the price range we're looking at? Should we be focused on buying a house at a certain price range so that your monthly mortgage is more affordable and it's convenient for you as opposed to going house broke? You know, it's about understanding what's most important to somebody. And during that conversation, if couples have not identified it beforehand, they will hear each other saying things they didn't know the other was thinking or what they were feeling. And depending on the couple, they might be able to easily get on the same sheet of music about what's most important to them. But also depending on the couple, they may not be able to do that at the same time. So this is what I always suggest. It's really fun. It can actually bring you even closer together and teach you a lot about each other in the process. It's a nice little exercise. I just call it a post-it note exercise. And to make it even funner, why not get colorful post-it notes? And what you want to do is you want to have the people in this relationship go to opposite ends of an area and write down what's most important to them in the house and assign a numerical value to it between a 1 and a 5, where the 1 is, it's really not that important, I can definitely live without it, and a 5 being like, hey, this is a non-negotiable for me, I'd really love to have this in the house unless I absolutely had to compromise on it, but this is something I really have a hankering for in my house. With anything else in between the 2 and 4 spectrum being graded accordingly based upon desirability. Now, at the end of the day, what you should have are, obviously everybody has their 1s, everyone has their 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s, right? It's easy to think about what's most important to us when we really start thinking about it. Now, when you come back together, when both of you are done with this exercise, you want to peel off your Post-it notes and literally put them up on a wall somewhere. Put your 5s on top, put your 4s next, and all the way down to 1s, right? At the end of the day, take a look at what homes are available based upon your realistic price range of what's affordable and what's comfortable for you to do moving forward, and make a determination of what the homes in that price point look like and which 5s are going to need to go by the wayside. At the end of the day, most homes will not have everything that we want, even if it's a new construction. I mean, let's be real, let's be honest. Most of them won't have exactly everything we want, even if they're built brand spanking new. And in fact, even a custom home doesn't always have what we want, because it's this thing called budget and money that limits what trying to have everything that we want in a property. So most homes are never a 5 until you ultimately make them their own. Now, there are aspects of a home that could make them 5-star components. Maybe it's the kitchen, maybe it's the yard size, maybe it's a garage size or something, right? All at the same time, by doing this, it helps you as a couple be able to identify what's most important to you about your new home, the 5s you don't have to have, and the things that you are more negotiable on. Maybe ultimately affordability is more important than having an island in the kitchen. Maybe ultimately the area is more important to you than living next to a busy street. So you got to think about this, and by having this conversation will better prepare you for when a trusted real estate advisor has this conversation with you. What are you looking for? What's most important to you? How many bedrooms? What's the size? What's the area? Blah, 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 right? A lot of questions that go into this to learn what's most important to somebody about buying a home. I wanted to share this with you today because it is something that I see all the time that comes up. And I hope that that exercise could prove to be massively beneficial and powerful for you in helping you, if you're in a relationship with somebody, come up with a clear expectation of each other, a clear expectation of the house, and help you be able to focus your home search by what's most important to you. In practice, in experience, people that have between 1 and 3 5-star components in their home are still in their home today, 5-6 years now after I got started in real estate, about 5.5 years ago. They're still in those homes. So they're, obviously the process works extremely well. So we want to make sure that it works for you as well. So something to think about, something to try out, and have a lot of fun in the process of doing it. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the comments that came in. We had Jackie Vickery that had watched 2019 Will It Crash, the housing market predictions video. She says, excellent detailed explanation of the complex real estate market. Jackie, I'm glad that you enjoyed that video, and yes, it was definitely detailed. So I'm glad that it was hopefully able to add some simplicity to what could be complex without taking a closer look at it and breaking it down. Encryptor watched What Your Real Estate Agent Won't Tell You and You Should Know. Encryptor just says, hello. So Encryptor, hello. Thank you for watching that video. Abiogenesis, what are some of the best tips I should look at when purchasing a townhome or condo? That's a really good question. I'm glad that you brought it up. I have another video coming out soon about things that you want to know when buying a condo. And I already have a video out about knowing if that condo is FHA, VA approved. That's one of the first considerations you want to know. Is it approved for the finance type that you're using to purchase the property, right? That's number one. The second would be, what are the health of the reserves in that HOA and who manages that HOA? Is it being managed by the owners of each unit, or is it being managed by a professional company? If the units are in something like a high rise and it's a condominium in a high rise or something, what is the ownership percentage in the amenities of that condominium? Now, what I will suggest to you, abiogenesis, as opposed to breaking out a whole bunch of different points in this live stream about purchasing a condo, if you want to know a lot more information about buying a condo, please go to my colleague, Matt Layton, and you can find him on YouTube, just typing in his name, Matt Layton, Leighton. because he has a lot more experience with a lot of different types of condominiums than I do, because they're more prevalent where he is in Virginia than they are here in Las Vegas, Nevada. To ensure that you get the best help, that's what I would ask you to do. In fact, Matt has actually written and published a book, and it is available on Audible to purchase about condo buying mistakes. So it's something that you might want to listen to. It's very quick, very easy. It's only like just over an hour, and you'll learn a lot about condominiums with some of the real world examples he shares in that book. All the same, super cool guy, Matt Layton. All right. Matt Nelson, got to run. See you next week. Matt, thanks for joining us in today. Hope you enjoy a wonderful week, my friend. Cynthia Hunter, what's the current state of debt to income ratios and FICO scores to pre-qualify? If you're asking me what the current state of debt to income ratios are, they're the same as they have been for the last several years, where you have maximum debt to income ratios ranging between 45 and 50%. It's best to know and have that conversation with a local loan officer, though, because it does change depending on the loan program. Some of them are going to go a little bit higher with extenuating or mitigating circumstances, but for conventional, it's pretty standard that they're at 45%. That being said, there are exceptions to the rules if someone qualifies based upon their circumstances. When you talk about FICO scores, generally anything over a 580 is acceptable, with anything over a 620 being highly preferable, and anything over a 640 or 660 helping you get some of the best loan programs out there at the best loan rates that are available in the current market. So that would be a pretty quick summation, Cynthia, about the current state of that. Now, how it applies to your situation or somebody that you might have in mind, please reach out to a local loan officer, have that conversation with them. There's a lot of factors that go into what we just covered, and it's hard to know for sure until a local loan officer has the ability to have that conversation with the one applying for the loan. Each of us have a unique situation. It's not like a la carte where option 1, 2, 3, because it's just not that clear cut. It's only that clear cut if everybody has a really good credit score, has good income, and has low debt. Then it's clear cut as a demographic from a buyer's perspective, right? So most of us are a little bit more colorful and have a few different things going on. So it takes a closer look. Safe Pet Haven, thank you, Andrew, for your transparency and generosity for sharing such valuable information. Safe Pet Haven, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for the kudos. That really means a lot for me. You really brightened my day, along with all the wonderful comments coming in today. I hope you're enjoying a wonderful day, and thank you for your generosity of tuning in to the live stream and sharing your thoughts with us. Stephanie Rivera says, is it possible to move your closing date to a sooner date? If so, what steps should I take? Stephanie, that's a really good question. Is it possible to move up your closing date? Absolutely. It's pretty simple. What you would do is you'd get with your respective agent, whether it's your buyer agent or your listing agent. More commonly, whenever you see a closing date move up on the spectrum, it's being originated from the buyer side. So I'm going to assume that you're a home buyer. Because normally a home seller won't be in a good position to be able to say, hey, I need to shorten the escrow. It's the home buyer that would be kind of in control of that situation based upon the home loan, if that's what they have, right? So most people get a home loan to buy a home, Stephanie. And if that's the case, what you would do is you get with your trusted real estate advisor, say, hey, I talked to the loan officer. Hey, please give him a call, check it out. And it sounds like we're going to be able to close earlier according to the home loan officer. And we move up the closing by 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, or whatever. They're going to do what's called a close of escrow change order, essentially getting you to sign off on it, submitting it over to the listing agent to have the conversation with the seller, asking them if the seller is prepared to close early. Keep in mind, there's always different components to this. If the house is vacant, probably is pretty simple. But if somebody's living in the home, depending on how much time they need to get out of their house, whether they're buying a house and they're in contract, or what their situation may be, what might result in whether that's accepted or not. Either way, is it possible? Yes. First step that you take, get on the phone, talk to your trusted real estate advisor, let them know what you're thinking, and let them have the conversation with the listing agent. If everything goes down, absolutely can be moved. And it's really cool when that does happen. So Stephanie, let us know how that plays out for you. And hopefully everything works out the way that is best for you and your circumstance. Okay, Safe Pet Haven. Now, all I ask is for you to be licensed in both Illinois and Texas so you can represent me in a critical last purchase and life situation. Awesome. So, safe pet haven. I just had another gentleman say, "Hey, Andrew, I wish you were licensed in Florida and you could help me out." I did get those, and I get it from other countries too, asking me about that. If I could, I would clone myself over however many times the demand would be, and I would be there to help everybody as much as possible. Since I can't realistically, clone myself out, what I do is I keep making these videos that try to help educate you and put you on the right path to making well-informed real estate decisions. And I get it. A critical last purchase in life. The families I represent here that are going into their forever home and are older in life, more experienced in life, definitely a lot of weight on those decisions and definitely a lot of deliberate decision making. So I get that and I completely respect that. The best thing that you could do, the same thing I suggest to them, is get clear on what's most important to you. And one mistake I would ask you to stay away from, I believe it to be a mistake because I see people circle back within a handful of years that do this, is get a single story house, also known as a ranch style. Because if we're getting older in life, our bodies at some point start to weaken as our years progress, and it gets harder to go up and down the stairs. It also becomes a risk to go up and down the stairs at certain ages, right? So we don't want anybody to get hurt. So I would ask you to consider that, because you're like, some people say, well, as long as it has a good sized downstairs master bedroom, then it doesn't matter. Well, then why did you buy the whole upper floor as opposed to just buying a smaller one-story house? I mean, let's be honest, right? Make a smart decision based upon your lifestyle that you envision having Safe Pet Haven, and I think that you'll be confident in the decision that you make for your last home purchase. I wish that I could help you, Illinois, Texas, make those determinations and work with you to find what's most important to you. If you do need help finding a top agent in those states, I can help. Just email me with my contact information below. All the same, thank you for bringing that up, and I hope that other people watching have benefited from what we just shared. Okay, so JVM Interior Design had watched the 2019 Will It Crash, and JVM says, always awesome videos, Andrew. JVM Interior Design, thank you for chiming in and commenting. And I finally placed, we had those comments. I finally placed your screen name to the email and the text messages that you had sent me. So I also wanted to give you a shout out. Congratulations on being able to buy your new place. Super excited for you and glad that that worked out for you. And thank you for tuning in and staying up on everything, JVM. Really appreciate you being here. And I also noticed you have a channel. So anybody curious about interior design, JVM Interior Design is more than just a screen name for her. She actually does interior design videos. You might want to check it out, see if it's for you. Really cool. All the same, really nice person. So nice lady. Safe Pet Haven, just kidding, not kidding, especially since I was so badly taken. Oh God, I was laughing off of the just kidding, not kidding, but especially since you were so badly taken 40 years ago with this starter house. That agent actually spent time in prison for high crimes and misdemeanors to others, not me. That's awful. And those are the kind of agents that really just piss me the hell off, frankly. Because they take advantage of somebody's trust and they take advantage of somebody's confidence, and it's manipulative, and I hate that. It goes against everything and every fiber of my being for who I am and what I stand for and what I represent, aside from being a real estate agent. Who I am as my core person is integrity, truth, transparency, trying to be helpful to people, not harmful to others. So I'm really sorry to hear that that was your situation 40 years ago with that. Just know there's a whole new breed of trusted real estate advisors out there just like me. That are very passionate, very committed to helping others. I just happen to make videos. Other people do blogs. Other people might not have the talent for either a blog or a video, and might not be their thing. But that doesn't negate the fact they're a really darn good trusted real estate advisor that really cares about the people they represent. And that's why I go back to what you're seeing as a trend right now in certain states, and they're trying to go national with it, or what are called iBuyers, which are technology companies with massive Wall Street funding going in behind them to create systems and ways of buying out homes that try to alleviate a real estate agent. I just don't think that that's smart. And if you really look at their terms and conditions, that actually costs more money to sell a home with them. And it costs more. I think what will happen is that it will end up being a travesty for people into the future. And how do you get the most information about an area from a program? Yeah, trusted real estate advisors have programs, systems, places to go to help you get that information. But at the end of the day, I don't think that a chat box or a customer service professional is going to keep you from freaking the heck out and having a panic attack at night as you go through the closing process. I don't think they're going to have the right answers for you to help you make sense of your decision when you start questioning your decision. I don't think that that's going to be the situation. I think that this is a people business and will always be a people business. I just think that we'll see a smaller amount of trusted real estate advisors in the future, where there's an estimated like 1.5 million nationwide right now. I think you'll probably see about half of them into the future. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, since cream tends to rise to the top. Hopefully, real estate advisor will be started to look at more like a trusted doctor or a trusted attorney or a trusted counselor, because the best of us will be here to help people because it's our passion to do so. People before profit is what it's all about. Profit comes as a result of helping people get what they want, and you can't help people get what they want if you're being dishonest. You can't help give people what they want if you're being manipulative. You can only help people get what they want by listening and asking questions and helping them to determine what's best for them in the time frame that's convenient and comfortable to them. Never get what you want by pushing somebody. Always can move forward by understanding somebody. So let me see. Safe Pet Haven, exactly. Abiogenesis. How do you see the New Jersey home market? The condo I'm looking at was built in 2001, sold at $139,000 back then. Now it's selling at $239,000, being in 2019. Small increase in those 18 years. This is a really good question, Abiogenesis. What I would suggest that you do to get hyper-local market trends in your location in New Jersey is to get in touch with a trusted real estate advisor there and ask them specifically about your New Jersey market, and specifically in your case about condominiums and appreciation. What they'll be able to do is hop onto the multiple listing service. It's one thing to know what a house sold for. It's another thing to know the story behind the condominium and why it's now being sold at $239,000. Obviously, the market's been up and it's been down in the last 18 years. So it only stands to reason that it should be up. So if you're talking $100,000, given that we were on a trend up, then it popped in 2008, deflated everything to historical lows, and now we're on the way back up again. It stands to reason that it might be where it should be, but all the same, I'm not licensed in New Jersey, so I don't want to give you any bad scoop there. What I would ask you to do is find a trusted real estate advisor there. If you need help finding one, let me know. I do have a national network of top agents, and I'm happy to put it to use for you to help you find the right agent for you. That agent will be able to get on the multiple listing service, let you know what specifically, with that, even beyond that condominium, how's that structure faring, how that complex is faring, and what the trend lines are for that area, and make sure that you're making a well-informed decision about that condominium. That being said, really good question, and I really hope that you take me up on what I suggested to you with getting a trusted real estate advisor in New Jersey. You will find them highly beneficial to your search. Safe Pet Haven. Even worse, I was part of a huge corporate transfer relocation where the destination contractors were supposedly pre-screened. Clearly not. So completely feel your situation, Safe Pet Haven. Sorry that that happened to you. Hopefully we can help you make sure that you get the right agent to help you moving forward so that doesn't happen to you ever again. Darren Carter, Andrew, is it wise to put the signs in the window on your lawn that advertises what alarm system I have in my house? So Darren, that's a really good point. So if you have like an ADT security or something, putting it it doesn't tell people what kind of system you have. It tells you what brand you have. And I do believe that's a smart idea, as it could be a deterrent to people in knowing that you do have security. You're promoting your security, right? So I actually have mine on my house, and I live in a guard-gated community, but I still have my little sign for my alarm company, because I still have an alarm. Of course I have an alarm on my house, even a guard-gated community. Hey, I don't care. I still want that peace of mind of knowing I have it, and I can log into my phone and look at the cameras on my house and make sure, if anything, I just check on my dogs. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because it's so true. Sometimes I wonder what my dog is up to and making sure he's not digging a new hole. I can log on and look at the cameras. That's probably one of my greater incentives for having a camera on my house, was simply to watch my beloved furry babies, but that's another story. Darren, some of these guys know how to beat different systems. You're right about that. And look, if you're dealing with a professional burglar and you have something they want, look, if they really want it, they're gonna, where there's a will, there's a way they're gonna do it. And it doesn't matter what kind of security you have on your house. I mean, let's just be honest. At the same time, we're not, unless you have like a lot of stuff that's highly valuable in your house to somebody like that, you may not be the best target for them. What most burglars, as I shared with in that video, look for are what are called soft targets. The easier the target is, the more attractive the target is. The target in this case being a homeowner, of course. So the harder that target is, the less favorable and tasty it is to a prospective burglar. That being said, where there's a will, there's a way. If they really want in there, they're going to get in there. I live in a guard-gated community. If somebody was really hell-bent on breaking into a house in my community, they're going to figure it out. I mean, let's just be honest. But the fact that I reside in that kind of a community makes it a huge deterrent to people knowing that there's roving security. And in that kind of a community, by the way, neighbors kind of look out for neighbors big time. So we know who is supposed to be on the street and who's not supposed to be on the street. So it's just a thought there. You're going to be putting your sign back on your lawn. Smart move. Smart move. Okay, Safe Pet Haven. Yes, our pets are sometimes a bigger challenge of homeownership, but we love them anyways. You ain't just a joking, Safe Pet Haven. You know, I have one of my dogs is a Labrador, and I love him so much. I really do. But I got him as a puppy because I had a couple of small little Chihuahuas, and I wanted him to learn from a young age to be nice to them. So I got him as a puppy. That being said, his terrible twos, if you will, included eating sheetrock. So I'm laughing because I came home one day and I have a wet bar area that I keep them in that's next to their dog door that lets them out on their dog run. And I came home and he had somehow eaten the sheetrock off of the walls around the wet bar. And I was thinking, oh my God, I didn't know a Labrador would eat sheetrock. So it was kind of funny. And then all the shrubs that I had on the dog run are no longer in existence. So I'm waiting for him to grow out of this phase so I can have it fixed. He has all kinds of toys and everything, but his favorite thing seems to be a simple plastic water bottle or simply eating the plants. So that's his thing right now. But right now, like I said, I just love him to death. I just know it's just like anything else, like a human child in different ways. He'll outgrow the phase eventually, and just working through it and trying to teach him right from wrong in as much as possible. But he overall is extremely well behaved. He's not eating the sheetrock anymore, fortunately, which is helpful. Now, if I can just get him to stop digging up the plants and eating those, we'll be good. Safe Pet Haven says labs are the best, but yes, they can be goofy. Yep. Absolutely love him though. I wouldn't trade him for the world. Absolutely adore him. Babysit a friend's Roddy while they traveled, but found his favorite snack was a quarter round along the kitchen baseboards. Sorry, that's funny. Yeah, I know the feeling. I'm only laughing. I'm not laughing at them. I'm laughing with them because I know the pain. Abiogenesis, military vets can qualify for different types of loans with the discharge papers. Yes. Abiogenesis, very good. So when you're talking about veterans and active duty at large, that loan type is called a VA home loan. And with the VA home loan, it's only available to military and veterans that qualify for that program. It is often considered like a Rolls Royce of home loans that are out there. So yes, it is an entirely different type of home loan. And one of the big caveats that make it a lot different is that by practice out of the gate, it's like a zero down home loan because there is no down payment. And that still means that you need to contend with your buyer closing cost. And it also means that depending on whether you have a certain percentage of disability rating assigned from the Veteran Affairs, you may or may not have what's called a VA funding fee. The VA funding fee is not a down payment. It is something that can be paid for up front if one chose to do so, or it's something that gets tacked onto the backside of the loan. It's what helps the VA to be able to provide the loans to my fellow veterans and active duty that are out there, and it sounds like yours as well, Abiogenesis. So it's a really good program. That certain disability rating for reference is 10% right now. You might want to check with the local loan officer to make sure there's been no changes to that guideline. But as of just a couple days ago, it's 10% or greater, and you're exempted from a VA funding fee. With your discharge papers, obviously you're talking about an honorable discharge in many cases to qualify. Again, there are extenuating circumstances and situations that you could use a VA loan, even if it was an other than honorable discharge. That conversation is best to have with a local loan officer familiar with VA home loans and how that process would work. Getting your DD-214 is going to be necessary as well. And a good local loan officer familiar with VA home loans will be able to get that stuff for you pretty quick, including the certificate of eligibility that you'll also need. Obviously, as a former Marine, I have worked with a lot of active duty and veterans, and we've been through this process quite a bit. So I do have videos specific to this with loan officers on it with me. You may find it beneficial to go back and take a look at them. They're underneath the home loans section of my channel and underneath VA home loans. Okay, great question, by the way. Thank you for bringing it up. Chelsea DePras watched 2019 Will It Crash? Chelsea says, Andrew Finney always coming through with reliable information. Chelsea, I'm glad that you enjoyed that video, and I hope that you found it helpful. Looking forward to working with you and your significant other when the time is right for y'all. I know that we've had some conversations about you guys moving out here, so I just want to let you know, give you the shout out, let you know I'm looking forward to when the time is right for y'all, planning this out for you guys. And helping y'all be successful in your home purchase. Okay, then we go into, let's see. Oh, Kay Vargs, who was on with us earlier today, was watching 4 things you should not do listing your house, and says, great tips. I'm planning to list my condo within the next couple months. My wife and I find your advice very useful. Love the quality and editing of your recent videos too. Keep it up. Most definitely will, Kay Vargs. If you need any help finding a top agent near you, wherever your condo is, if it's not here in Vegas, let me know, and I can help you find one that's going to be right for you to help you out over there. If you're here in Vegas, let's talk. But all the same, thank you so much for the shout on that video, and I'm glad you're enjoying the higher quality videos these days, and also the editing. Jackie Vickery had watched How to Sell a House, 7 Ways to Attract Home Buyers. Jackie says, excellent video. I had never heard about virtual staging. My house is pretty empty, and I think it would be very helpful. Thank you. I'm glad that you took that out of that video, Jackie. You've been a lot of fun to chat with in the comment section and stuff, and I hope that the videos about home selling are helping you get ready to sell your home, especially in realization of what's going on with the market right now too. Okay, so let's see. Game Gang had commented on the 2019 Will It Crash episode and says, if you want to have more subscribers, you need to stop your political propaganda. It might be offensive to people who don't share your views. The rest of the content is great. So I'd actually responded to Game Gang because if any of you have watched the 2019 predictions video, it's not political, it's factual. And I cited those facts in the show more description below. Everybody's going to have a perception. People are going to believe what they wish to believe, and that's okay. I didn't expect everybody to love it, and I knew, in fact, before I ever released the video, some people might find it controversial because it's factual. And let's be honest, if a fact disagrees with one's opinion, it becomes controversial. But facts are still facts. No fake news, no alternate facts, which somehow have become a euphemism for a lie. I don't get that, but only honest to God facts that are cited, referenced, and sourced in that video. Safe Pet Haven, I am so glad, all things considered, that with our military vets have to contend with, that they do have excellent benefits such as home loan options, etc. My generation was the Vietnam era, and while in university in the early 70s, there were many who returned and took advantage of the continued education benefits. Wish my dad had taken advantage of his Navy World War II benefits. Yep, great points, Safe Pet Haven. Absolutely great points. Cynthia Hunter's hitting you up right now for a reference in chat. She said, hi, Safe Pat. She might want to chat with you a little bit too, so that you guys can have a good conversation, hopefully. Kyle Lester had watched Advantages and Disadvantages of Putting a House in Trust, and Kyle says, one confusing point might be if a creditor has a judgment against you or your name, they can collect from you. Can they collect from you or the trust if you're a trustee of that specific trust? And especially if the addresses are different. I shared with Kyle, quite frankly, I didn't know he might want to reach out to a state attorney and asked him to follow up with us after he got a better answer for his question. And he said, and then he had commented back that he's learned of wealth preservation trusts, which seemed to be the way to handle that issue. And it is a legal mechanism. So if you're curious about advantages, disadvantages of putting a house in a trust, please get with an estate attorney. And to Kyle's point, you might want to ask them about the pros and cons of a wealth preservation trust. Just for the better protection of the trust at large. So Kyle, thank you for chiming in on that video, and thank you for getting back to us with the workaround to, or the solution to that answer, or that question you'd asked. Mr. Flat Keto 52 was watching 4 things you should not do when listing your house. Mr. Flat Keto 52 says, I see you stepped up the production. Nice work. Glad you're enjoying it, Mr. Flat Keto. Great to hear from you. ABA watched 4 tips for buying a damaged house. ABA says, awesome video. Thank you. Glad that you enjoyed it, ABA, and thank you for tuning in. Okay, Jigger D had watched 2019 Will It Crash, says thanks for all the info. The volume of the video was a bit low. Thank you for letting me know. I did have some audio difficulty in that video, and I'm glad that you brought it up. I had already commented back on it. You should not be having any issues with audio or video quality moving forward, but thank you for that. And I certainly respect the fact that you let me know. Bryn Witt had watched 2019 Will It Crash. Bryn Witt says, lots of laughs, that Thomas Kincaid painting in the background. On another note, sir, may I recommend trying not to restate the same thing in different ways, multiple times? Linking your thoughts and looping back to what you were saying previously is good. Overstating can cause a loss of interest. Thank you for your opinions, and thank you for sharing with me, Bryn Witt. I'll work on trying to be more succinct. Okay, let's see. Ron S was watching tips for getting a lowball offer accepted. Ron says, hey, Andrew, we're putting in an offer tomorrow for a home that has been on the market for nearly 5 months with price reductions every month since it's been listed. The seller has moved and cannot buy another home until this one sells. The home is now listed at $334,000 and we're offering $320,000. Our pre-approval is $326,000 and asking the seller for closing cost of $5,000 to $6,000, which will be added to the loan. As I watched your video, I realized we are coming in around 4.6% lower than the average price. What do I think of your chances? I think that you roll the dice, Ron. I think you give it a shot. What I would ask you to do, one thing that comes off of the top of my mind, and we talked about earlier in this live stream, is the fact that if you're offering less, 4.6% after you did the math on that, less than the asking price, is if you're also asking the seller to make concessions towards your buyer closing costs, you're essentially asking them for like another 1.5% to 2%. So your total ask of the seller is coming up close to 7% in total. That could be a little bit steep. And if something's going to hurt your odds of success there, it's probably going to be the overall package together. It might be more beneficial to try to offer them the $326,000 if they're willing to take it, or use that as a negotiation room and ask them for the buyer closing costs if that's something that's going to help you out, or asking for the lower price and a smaller amount of the buyer closing cost or whatnot. But at the same time, I don't think that it's an unrealistic offer if the seller's been reducing for 5 months every single month. Why not give it a go? Why not give it a shot and just see what they have to say? Especially with the market stabilizing, it could come back in your favor. At least ways it could start the negotiation moving forward in a healthy way that's best for you and the seller. Really good question, Ron. We're super happy that you brought it up. Okay, Sheila Burke had watched 12 negotiation tips when buying a house. She says, great vid. Question, is it common for a cash buyer to have an appraisal done on a house? If so, does the appraiser need to have the signed purchase and sales agreement showing the agreed upon price in hand when he does the appraisal? So Sheila, number one, really good question. I'm glad you brought it up. So here's the fact. As a cash buyer, do you have to have an appraisal done to buy the house? No. Should you have a minimum of a comparative market analysis performed by your trusted real estate advisor? Yes. If you want to make sure that you're not overpaying for the property, would it be a good idea to pay the additional $500 to $600 to have an appraisal done? Sure. At the same time, what normally makes cash more appealing to a seller is the fact that it doesn't have to be appraised. At the same time, most cash buyers that I know don't want to overpay for a property if they don't have to. So that's where the wisdom of having the comparative market analysis done by your trusted real estate advisor, and especially considering their experience and how strong their comparables market analyses are, can be very, very accurate and very, very indicative of what's going on in the area. At a minimum, it'll show you what's trending in the area and what homes are selling for, and help you have a better insight into whether you ultimately want to have an appraisal done or not. Now, keep in mind that unless it was written into your contract very specifically, you would not necessarily have an appraisal contingency, again, depending on how the purchase and sales agreement was written by the trusted real estate advisor. So make sure that if that's something that you're thinking about and something that you want to do, you might want to go ahead and put it in as a contingency. If that's something that you're contemplating now, just saying, it's something to think about, something to consider, and something to definitely have a conversation with your real estate advisor about. Oscar Gallardo had watched What is a Withdrawn Listing? He says, thank you. Oscar, I'm glad you liked that video. Thank you so much. Janine Hoke, this is why your content is so valuable. Facts, sincerity, and integrity. I will catch up on all the new content and let you know what I think. Thank you, Janine. Really appreciate your support, and I'm glad that you enjoyed the facts, my sincerity, and integrity. I definitely enjoy having you with us and part of our growing community. Looking forward to your feedback when you have a chance. Okay. Meryl Harbays was watching 6 Things Burglars Don't Want You to Know, says, this is great advice. Thank you, Mr. Finney. Glad that you took a lot out of that video, Meryl, and glad that you enjoyed it. Okay, Christian C. Matter watched the same video. Christian says, hi, Andrew. Thank you for yet another great video. What are your thoughts on dummy security apparels? Not worth it because you can get real ones or for a few bucks more, or is it enough of a deterrent that you could save the setup cost? I'm definitely going to lean with not enough deterrent. Going back to something Darren was saying, a real burglar is going to know the difference between a fake knockoff product, no matter how high quality it may look. And at the end of the day, there is no replacement for the real thing should you ever need it. It's not as much about trying to always deter. I gave a lot of suggestions in that video of how to deter crime. But if you really needed it, and you really did need a camera system that can do facial recognition for the police department to find out who burglarized your house, it's not going to benefit you having the fake thing. It's only going to benefit you if you have the real thing. Something to think about. I definitely would suggest just getting the real thing, especially since these days it really is only a few dollars more than the fake deterrent. Why not just go ahead and get the real thing since it's only a few dollars more? BK Brown 5881 was watching top 6 energy efficient upgrades for your home. Says great tips and thanks for the info. Try the talk a tad slower though. You talk pretty fast. Thank you for the feedback. I have noticed that some people think I talk fast. Some people don't. Some people it's just right for us. So it may be kind of a regional thing. Overall, yeah, I tend to talk a little bit quicker than most. Normally because got a lot running through this mind of mine at all times. And it's just how I've always talked. It's kind of natural to me that way. At the same time, it's something I have been working on, but anytime I try to slow my rate of speech too much, it becomes very unnatural and it definitely doesn't sound right. It sounds like Alvin and the Chipmunks put on slow. Does not sound right. Anyways, that being said, I'll continue working on my rate of speech and definitely respect the fact that you let me know what your thoughts were. And I'm glad that you liked the video, by the way. Marie Romo, watch Beginner's Guide to Refinancing Your Mortgage, says thank you. Glad that you enjoyed that video, Marie. Then we go. G. Russell Fionley was watching VA loan process, your step-by-step guide, start to finish. And G. Russell says you guys are great. Too bad for me that I don't live in Nevada. Can you recommend a good lender, agent, and team in Florida? Sure can. Reach out to me in my comment section below. Happy to get you started and get you pointed on the right direction. Let me see. JVM Interior Design had watched Buying a House, 5 Compromises Not to Make. JVM says, no kids, I just want to live with my future husband. Haha. So JVM, you know, I'm sure that's happening for you in the future, if it's not already in the process for you. But you're a really nice lady. From the different conversations that we've had and the text messages and the comments that you've made. So I have the utmost of confidence that everything will work out for you when the time is right for you. And I definitely hope it'll be the right relationship that keep you happy the rest of your life. And congrats again on your house. Cynthia Hunter, I'm in New York. Your speech rate feels calm to me. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying, Cynthia. So I'm glad that you called that out. My rate of speech for somebody in regional dialect terms would probably be too quick for somebody that's from like the southern states. It may be just right for the West Coast. And it's probably a little bit slow compared to New York or some of the East Coast states because it's even faster paced life over there and you've got so much going on and you're always thinking of something. So you're always talking really fast and to some of us, this is just way too fast. Case in point, right? Case in point. When I have conversation with Easterners, hey, one thing I know is a regional demographic, get to the point, stay on point, and answer the question and answer it honestly right away as fast as possible. That's what I know. It's extremely direct, extremely to the point, and I love the sense of humor on the East Coast. It's a little bit drier compared to West Coast sense of humor, but it's a more of an intellectual sense of humor in different ways, and I find it interesting. But it's just regional differences as far as rate of speech. So occasionally some people will tell me that I talk too fast, but I thank you for letting me know that my rate of speech feels calm to you all the same. It's just funny, different different thoughts for different people, but all the same, try to do the best I can. So Tish R. Tish, congratulations. I haven't seen you on the live stream today. I'm going to be sure that I hit you up afterwards, though. So Tish R has been watching the live streams and the channel for a long time, and she just shared with us yesterday. It looks like last night she had sent a comment on the Buying a House 5 Compromises Not to Make. And she says, I closed today. Hip, hip, hooray. She went through the NACA program and says, thanks again for these vids. Very helpful. I would not mind answering any questions from any of your viewers if they're brave enough to try to go the route of the NACA loan. So if you have questions about NACA loan, being that Miss Tish R has gone through that process, hit up the video, Buying a House 5 Compromises Not to Make, and go into the comment section where Tish was making that comment. In fact, what I'll do is I'll more than likely go back and pin that comment to the top of that video, just so that anybody that has questions about that program can get it through somebody that realistically bought a home with that program. And I really appreciate you, Tish R, making it known, because it already looks like you're getting some questions underneath that thread about the program. And I really appreciate you making yourself available to help us learn and grow together, Tish. And by the way, congratulations on your new home. Super, super excited for you, and glad that you are now in your own new kingdom. Congratulations, Tish. Matt Nelson, nice video. Andrew, love the new camera and logo. Talking about the same video, Buying a House 5 Compromises Not to Make, came out yesterday. Clevin Tim's 24, thanks Matt, by the way, thank you for that. Clevin Tim's 24 was watching 2019 Will It Crash, says awesome video, very informative, and loved the message to Americans. Glad that you picked up on that, Clevin Tim's. Super, super happy that you picked up on that, and thank you for picking up on that video, and I'm glad that you found it very, very helpful. It's awesome. So the message to Americans in that video, really, we're stronger together than we are not. Let's come together and not fight each other. Let's not be divided. Instead, let's stand together strong. So we're always more powerful and stronger than we are. We're better together. Look at all the different insights and points of view that people have, from as simple as something from our conversation today about a rate of speech. Now you go into something more substantial. Putting more minds together and coming up with a group consensus is extremely powerful. We are all far more alike than we are not. If somebody walked in my office right now and cut me in front of you right now live, what color am I going to bleed? Red. If somebody cuts someone else, I cut them back. What color are they going to bleed? Red. By that premise alone, we are already far more similar than we are not. We may not always agree on ideology. We may not always agree on approaches. But if we approach each other with respect and dignity, we can find a common ground that is most acceptable to everybody, to keep everybody moving forward together. We can only have a good conversation when we open our mind to different points of view. Doing so keeps us open-minded and keeps us learning and growing. And that's what we should always do. But first of all, understanding we're stronger together than we are not. And understanding that just by being a human, we're already more alike than we are not. Just keep it real and be nice to each other, please. Okay, Yulu5 says, hi, I'm a first-time homebuyer, no debt, 20% down, and good credit. What are some of the most important factors to consider when purchasing? So, Yulu5, guess what? You're about to have one heck of a wonderful time buying a home. And why I say that is if you're a first-time homebuyer, you have no debt, you have a 20% down payment, and good credit, you are going to get the best of all loan products available for you, and you're also not going to have a private mortgage insurance since you're going to be putting down 20%. So when you're talking about the most important factors to consider when purchasing, what I'd ask you to do, Yulu, is go back to my home buying playlist, take a watch the video that I made yesterday about the 5 compromises not to make when buying your first home, and watch some of those videos. The reason I say that is there's actually a lot of considerations. And one of those considerations we talked about earlier in this live stream was getting clear on what's most important to you in your house. And there's ways to do that. There's a lot of considerations that go into it. Of course, if you're here in Vegas, I'm happy to meet up with you, represent you, and have this conversation with you in person. If you're out of state, as a lot of our viewers are out of state or out of country, then, you know, if you need help finding a top agent, let me know. But at the end of the day, the considerations when purchasing, there are a lot of factors. And those are factors that you need to be thinking about. Number one is what's most important to you in your new home. Is it the location? Is it the price? Is it the amount of bedrooms? Is it the size? Is it the yard, the garage? I mean, what makes the house a house to you? Think about it, close your eyes, take some deep breaths, and do a meditative exercise and visualize what the perfect house looks like to you. Write down when you open your eyes what that was and describe it to yourself. And describing it to yourself, you can have that conversation with your trusted real estate advisor and then balance it with the realism that is your mortgage pre-approval. If you do that, you'll be able to find the best options available to you in the location that are most amenable to you for the house type and style that fits your lifestyle. And that's another key factor. Consider the lifestyle that you wish to have not only today, but 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10, 15, 20 years from now, whatever the case may be. Decide how long you're going to keep that house. It's one of those things that people say, oh, Andrew, when I buy a house, it's my forever house. That would be ideal, but in reality, that's not the case. The statistics are that people in the United States move every 10 to 11 years. Something to think about, something to consider. You wonder why that is. You say, it's not me, it's not me, it's not me. Well, statistics don't lie, and it's not that everybody is going to be moving 10 to 11 years, don't get me wrong. But what it is about the understanding that life changes. And with life's changes, if you got married, if you had kids, if the situation changes, you need to be moving close to family, you got a job relocation or something else, that's why it's 10 to 11 years. Life changes. But first of all, you be clear on what you want, be clear on how long you're going to be there, be clear on the kind of lifestyle that you wish to enjoy, and keep it in balance with your amount that you've been approved for, and consider. Now, this is one factor I've been stressing a lot lately. So if you're asking me for another key factor, consider the fact that just because you get approved for $1 million home doesn't necessarily mean you need to go buy $1 million home. Maybe the monthly mortgage is more comfortable to you at a $700,000 level. Now, obviously, I don't know what your approval is, but you get where I'm going with this. Make sure that that monthly mortgage amount is comfortable to you, because when a lender calculates your total pre-approval letter for your maximum amount, they're doing so off of your gross income, which means what? It's not your net income. In other words, that's before Uncle Sam gets their hands into your pocket and takes out their portion. That becomes highly relevant when you consider a true affordability for a house and a mortgage payment, and then consider the cost of your needs and such. I made other videos about this and very, very specific, and I got new content coming out that's revolving around these points to make sure that people are thinking very closely home affordability, not so much as the price of the home, but how that monthly mortgage fits into their life in relation to what lifestyle they wish to enjoy. Something to think about, something to consider. Janine Hoke, I believe there's an option in the playback settings within YouTube to adjust the rate of speed. Those who have challenges with the rate of speech, Google how to change it so it can be comfy for you. You know, Janine, I'm glad that you brought that up, because you're absolutely correct. And I've shared it with people a million times. I say a million times, it's probably not literally a million times, but yes, YouTube does make it very easy. If you want to speed up my rate of speech, you want to slow me down, and you do want to hear what I sound like a chipmunk, if you put it on slow, you could do so. You go to the little gear icon when you hover it over, whether it's on your phone or whether it's on your desktop, laptop, iPad, whatever, tablet, right? It's the gear icon. You go to that gear icon, it talks about playback settings. You can adjust it up to like 200, 300%. You can also adjust it down to like 25%. And you can make sure that I'm speaking of whatever rate of speech is comfortable to you. It's one of the reasons why, you know, I did try to slow down my rate of speech. And look, I'm either really flowing naturally or I'm not. So sometimes even during this conversation, I've flown at different rates of speech. It depends on what I'm talking about. If I get talking about something else, I might speed it up. If I'm talking about key points, I might slow it down. And that's what's natural, because it's happening organically. But if I try to artificially slow myself down by being cognizant, what happens is I lose the message that I want to share to benefit you. And trying to focus on slowing down too much, I'm more focused on rate of speech than sharing the reason why I'm making the video to begin with. So if I got to make a mistake on either direction, I'm going to make that mistake on rate of speech, because it's what's natural. I'm remaining natural to the rate of speech to share what's I'm trying to share with you to help you make sense of real estate. It's all the same. Anyways, glad you brought it up, Janine. So anybody that's made it this far into this live stream, which so happens to be, oh my goodness, the longest live stream I've ever done, coming up on 1.5 hours. All the same, very good point. Absolutely can adjust that. Maybe I'll just start putting it in the show more description and just read a speech with the gear icon. Let me see. We have Safe Pet Haven. We can all agree here that Andrew is the best. Well, Safe Pet Haven, thank you so much. I hope that we can all agree that each of you are the best as well. Thank you so much, and everybody watching it after the fact. Cynthia Hunter, call 911 in Vegas. Oh, you're so funny. LaRon Hall, I'm feeling it, Andrew. LaRon, thank you for coming in. Super excited to meet up with you and your family. I know that we still got about another year before that happens. All the same, LaRon, super happy that you're staying tuned. You are going to be extremely ready when the time is right for you guys in a year. Just saying. Thank you for being here, bud. Yulu5, I'm going to make sure to watch the video playback. I just watched the inspection video. Thank you so much. Yulu5, thank you so much. I'm glad that it was helpful to you, and I'm glad that you're going to be taking a look through those playlists. I think that you'll find them very, very beneficial. Just take them one video at a time. And the reason I say that is at this point, I'm coming up on 500 videos on the channel at large. It's a lot of content. And every video has their own message. It has its own content. It has its own points. If you really, depending on how much in advance you're preparing to buy your home, depending on what video hits and resonates with you, just go through the home buying playlist. Go through each playlist, pick your favorite videos, make a new playlist just for you called your home buying playlist, and maybe it's one that you share with your family and friends after you make it. And take out the ones that are most impactful to you based upon the topic. That's something to think about because that's a lot of content on the channel. It's like a huge repository of real estate info. Cynthia Hunter, speeding it up, chipmunk. Okay. Love you, Cynthia. That was actually funny. Very funny, because I've done it before too, just to hear the differences. So that's why I know it's kind of funny. Anyways, back to, looks like we're getting ready to finish it off here with the last comment that came in, unless there's been other comments that come on the channel. But the last comment that I wanted to hit on today from the channel was by Juliet earlier this morning on advantages and disadvantages of putting a house in trust. And this is another person talking about the rate of speech. Kind of funny and I guess kind of appropriate right after Cynthia's comment and Janine's comments and stuff. So Juliet said, what did you drink? Too much coffee? Why does this guy talk so fast? Is it just me? Well, based upon the group consensus in our live stream, Juliet, it may be you. And there is a gear icon that you can use to adjust my rate of speech to the right level that's more acceptable to you so that you can enjoy the content. Anyways, as we mentioned a moment ago, this is officially the longest live stream. I've had a lot of fun with everybody today. This has been so engaging, so enjoyable, and thank you for everyone that's here now and everybody that watches this after the fact and live stream. We'll see you guys live again next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And of course, between now and then, I'm wishing you and yours a lifetime full of love, wealth, abundance, and happiness. Enjoy an amazing day, and we'll see you soon.